Welcome to chapter 11. In this chapter, you're going to learn how to form the plural in German. Willkommen zu Abschnitt 11. In diesem Abschnitt geht es den Plural. Okay, so let's have a look at how we form the plural in German. There are different varieties of possibilities of how to form the plural. It's not just adding an S like in English most of the time. Now, there are different rules in German. Let's have a look at the first slide here. So here, there are the plurals with the ending N or EN. Okay, so masculine nouns that have the ending and, and, ist, and or. Okay, nouns that have these masculine nouns that have those endings have the plural form adding an en or just an n, depending on whether the word like here, der Kollege, has an e at the end already anyway, so you just add an n. If it does not have an e at the end, you have to add en. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples. For example, der Praktikant, it means it's the male intern. The plural form is die Praktikanten. We have to add an en here because the ending is not e, it's a t, so you add an en. Then the next one is der Kollege, which means the male colleague. If it was a woman, you would have to add an in here. Here also an in. For all of those, you would have to add an in. If it was a woman, it's very important in German to distinguish whether it's a man or a woman. So der Kollege, and the plural form is die Kollegen. Here you have an en at the end, but actually you just have added an n because the ending is e anyway. So you don't put a double e here. Okay. Then der Dirigent, which means the conductor, it's die Dirigenten. You add an en for the plural form. Der Pianist, the pianist, die Pianisten. Okay. Der Direktor und die Direktorin. Der Director means the director. So the plural article is always die, no matter whether the actual noun is masculine, female, or neutral. For the plural form, you always use die. There's just one plural article. Okay, so that makes it a little bit easier. Right? If you form a plural, you don't have to worry about which article to take. It's always die. Okay, so that are the endings for the masculine nouns that have these endings. Okay, that's the plural endings, n or en. The next slide, here we have also the plural form with the ending n or en, but this is now for feminine nouns that have these endings here. That are typical female endings. For e, there are some exceptions. There are also neutral or masculine nouns that have the ending e, but these ones here are typical female. Whenever you see these endings, you know that must be female. So let's have a look at some examples. Here we have die Tante, so the plural form is die Tanten. Right, again, we actually just have added an n here because it has an e at the end already in the singular form. So the plural form is die Tanten, which means die Aunts, the plural form. Here we have die Wahrheit, which means the truth. The plural form is die Wahrheiten. Here we have to add an en because the ending is t, the ending is not an e, so you have to add an extra en here. Die Patientin, it's the female patient. So the plural form is die Patientinnen. Very important, whenever you have a female singular form which ends with an in, die Patientin, die Studentin, die Schülerin, and so on. In the plural form, you have to use a double n to form the plural. Okay, die Patientin. Nen, you have to add a nen here, n-e-n, because this is how we form the plural form for female nouns. Then the next one, die Region, which means the region. The plural form is Regionen. Die Grafik, which means the graph. Again, the plural form is die Grafiken. Here we have Unfähigkeit, inability, Unfähigkeiten. You see, it's always an en at the end. Die Kapazität, die Kapazitäten, which means the capacity. Then die Übung, the plural form, die Übungen. Again, you add an en here, and it means the exercise. Okay, so this is how we form the plural of female nouns that have these endings here. Okay, this is a rule. Please keep it in mind. The next slide, here again we have plurals with the ending n or en. Now here it's about foreign words that have the ending ma, and us. Nouns that don't come originally from the German language and that have those endings here. Like for example, das Aroma, which means the aroma. The plural form is also Aromen. You add an en here. The next one is das Zentrum, which means the center. The plural form is die Zentren. Okay, so this is a little bit irregular. It's not Zentrumen, but Zentren. Okay, just keep this in mind, please. After tr, the ending changes from to n, Zentren. Then we have der Organismus, us at the end, very often a foreign word, der Organismus, which means the organism. The plural form is the Organismen. Okay, again, we don't say organismusen, we take away the us and you add an en here instead, and then it becomes the Organismen. Then the next slide, here we have plural forms with the ending e. So masculine nouns that have those endings here, which are also typical masculine, ich, ihr, ich, link, und Whenever you have those endings for masculine nouns, of course there are also always exceptions. It could be also that you find a neutral noun maybe that has an ik at the end. But those are usually, most of the time, they're masculine nouns. So masculine nouns that have those endings, now we have the plural form of those with an e at the end. For example, der Masseur, which means the masseur, the plural form is die Masseure. We just add an e here. Der Wellensittich, which means the budgie, die Wellensittiche. Der Pionier, die Pioniere. Der König, die Könige. Der Ring, die Ringe. Der Likör, die Liköre. See, so you just have to add an e here. And this is the rule for those nouns. Then the next slide, here we also have the plural form with an e at the end. Now, this is for many monosyllabic female nouns, okay? Viele einsilbige feminine Nomen. But very often, whenever we have a female noun with just one syllable, we often have to add an umlaut there in the plural form. Like here we have die Maus, which means the mouse. The plural form is die Mäuse. It has just one syllable, right? Mouse, just one syllable. We add an e at the end for its plural form, and the a becomes an a umlaut. Die Mäuse. Then, for example, die Hand, which means the hand. The plural form is die Hände. We have added an a umlaut here and an e at the end. Okay. Then the next part, that are the plural forms with the ending e or er. Now, again, we have many monosyllabic neutral nouns also, and then we also often have to add an umlaut there in its plural form. Let's have a look at this chart a little bit closer here. It's also good to study those words that you see in this list, just as in all charts and lists that you see in this course, because you always have the English translation, and you can study those words, because you need words in order to be able to speak a language, right? So that are the tools you need. So das Brot, for example, is the bread. Now here we have not added an umlaut for the plural form. There's no special rule when you say, for example, whenever it has an u, you always have to make an umlaut, or whenever it has an a in its singular form, you have to add an a umlaut. There's not a rule like this, okay? You would have to learn it more or less by heart, unfortunately. So das Brot is the bread, and the plural form is die Brote. Das Bein, die Beine. Okay, you just add an e here. Okay, sometimes an er, depends. Das Bild, die Bilder. Das Buch, die Bücher. Das Dach, die Dächer. Das Dorf, die Dörfer. Das Glas, die Gläser. Das Haar, die Haare. Das Haus, die Häuser, das Kleid, die Kleider, das Korn, die Körner, das Land, die Länder, das Licht, die Lichter, das Lied, die Lieder, das Nest, die Nester, das Rind, die Rinder, das Schiff, die Schiffe, das Tal, die Täler, das Tuch, die Tücher, das Volk, die Völker und das Wort, die Wörter. Okay, I just read it to you to get to, so that you get used to the German pronunciation, and that you listen to the language. And it's very important also, of course, outside of this course, that you try to hear the German language as much as possible, even if you for example don't understand everything, but just to get used to how it sounds. Okay, for example, on YouTube there are many videos you can put in the searching part. For example, German stories A1 level, and then there are different children's stories, for example, and then there's also the text of to the story. So it would be very good if you do this and practice also the listening comprehension a little bit more. Okay, so now let's have a look at the next slide. Here we have the plural form with an S at the end. So nouns that have those endings here, A, I, O, U, and Y, okay, or Y in English. So whenever, very often, when you have those endings, the plural form is just adding an S at the end of the noun, no matter whether it's the noun is female, masculine, or neutral. So here we have, for example, das Sofa. The plural form is die Sofas. Der Bikini, die Bikinis. Das Video, die Videos. Das Niveau, die Niveaus. Das Baby, die Babys. Okay, whenever it has an Y at the end, we don't form the plural as in English, where you have to form an IES at the end for the plural form. In German, the Y just stays there and you add an S at the end. Okay, then the next slide, here we have the singular form is equal to the plural form. Nothing changes here. Okay, so for example, we have often masculine nouns that have the ending L or er. Very often in those cases, or most of the time, the singular form stays exactly, the plural form stays exactly the same as the singular form. So for example, der Spanier, the plural form is die Spanier, which means the Spaniard or the Spaniards. Der Büffel, die Büffel, stays exactly the same. Then here we have neutral nouns with the ending chen and lein. Chen and lein is a typical neutral ending. We add it at the end of a noun in order to say that it's small and sweet. Okay, so if whenever you see the ending chen and lein, it's diminutive form, and it means that something is small. So you can say, for example, das Bett, which is the bed, and then if you say das Bettchen, it means it's a little bed, maybe a baby bed or a children's bed to sleep. Like here we have das Fläschchen, which means the baby bottle. Now here in those cases, the singular form stays exactly the same in the plural form. Das Fläschchen here means the baby bottle. Die Flasche is the bottle, and the baby bottle is das Fläschchen. Okay, and Fräulein is miss, let's say a little woman. That's why also das Mädchen, the girl, in German is neutral, because it comes from the old German when they used to say a little woman. So it's das Mädchen. Also, although it's female, we have to use the article das for that. Okay, so that was that slide. The next one, here we just have a singular or just a plural form with those nouns here. So here we just have a singular form. There is no plural for those nouns, like die Milch. We cannot say milks in German. We just say die Milch. We just have it in the singular form. Just like der Frieden, which means the peace. Der Hunger, die Geduld, die Hitze, die Kälte, das Glück, der Ärger und der Lärm. There is no plural form for these nouns. There are more that belong to this group, but it's for the A1 level. This is what you need to know for now, because there are very basic words that you need in order to be able to speak on an A1 level, A2 level. Okay, so please study those words here and keep in mind that there is no plural form for those nouns. The next one, in this group, we just have a plural form. There's no singular form. So, for example, the Eltern, it's parents. We don't have a word like the parent in a singular form. It's always plural in German. Die Ferien, vacations, it would be in English. It's always the plural form, die Ferien. We don't have a singular form for that. Die Geschwister, it's the siblings. If you want just to say brother or sister, you have to say Bruder or Schwester. But the siblings is Geschwister. It's always in its plural form. Die Leute, the people. Die Kosten, the costs or expenses. It's always in its plural form. There is no singular form for that. Die Jeans, it's also always in its plural form, the jeans. Okay, so that was the chapter about the plural in German. It is super important to study those rules, okay? It's not as simple as in English to form the plural in German, as you have seen, because it also depends on the gender of the noun, and then we have different rules, which ending it takes, depending on the ending of the noun also. So please study this chapter and watch it a couple of times, and then keep the rules in mind, please. Okay, I hope you like this chapter und bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.